I know you're not used to me looking so glamorous, but hey, it's the Oscars, and we have an unprecedented guest, Anthony Lamolinara, animation supervisor on Spider-Man 2. I bet you saw the movie. He just won the Oscar for it. We're going to show you a clip, and we're going to talk to Anthony.
I believe there's a hero in all of us. Gives us strength, makes us noble. Even though sometimes we have to give up the thing we want the most.
Barker!
Where you been? Looking for you all morning.
You're late.
Always late!
You're fired.
Look at you, Peter. Your grades have been declining. You always appear exhausted.
I know, I'm trying.
So where you been, pal? You don't return my calls.
I've been kind of busy.
Taking pictures of your friend. Spider-Man killed my father.
No matter what I do,
Do you love me or not?
no matter how hard I try,
I want Spider-Man dead.
it's the ones I love who will always be the ones who pay.
I can't keep thinking about you. I'm getting married.
I want a life of my own. I'm Spider-Man. No more.
You look different.
I let things get in the way before. There was something I thought I had to do. I don't have to.
I liked seeing you tonight, Peter.
Now on to the main event.
Octavius is going to put Oscorp on the map in a way my father never even dreamed of.
Crazy scientist turns himself into some kind of a monster. 4 mechanical arms welded right onto his body.
You take Spider-Man's pictures. Where is he?
It's taking me off your loyalty to Spider-Man and not your best friend.
Bring Spider-Man to me.
How do I find him?
Peter Parker.
Find Spider-Man, or I'll peel the flesh off her bones.
There are bigger things happening here than me and you.
Let's see who's behind the mask.
I'm Mary Gerasi, and welcome to Outreach Programming. I have two guests today, Oscar and Anthony Lamolinara, Oscar Award winner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First questions first. I've never interviewed an Oscar Award winner, and I just have to ask the question. I'm sure you're sick of answering it. What was that like? Unbelievable. I saw you on TV with millions and millions of people watching. So,
I was nervous just before. I had butterflies, I actually spoke to some actors about it afterward, about going on stage and what it's like, and they said sort of the same thing, meaning nervous before. When they called out the winner, which I wasn't really expecting because nowhere have we won anything in any category before. And I wasn't necessarily expecting they were going to call it, but they did. And when I walked out, I was completely calm, just absolutely calm. I felt like I could have just had a conversation with anybody there. Whereas I expected to be more nervous when I got up there and got the award. I was just really relaxed, I was looking down at Warren Beatty, and he winked at me, and then I winked at his wife. And,
wow. I can't even imagine. Is there anything, when you heard your name, I mean, was there any feeling like that you ever had before, or it just felt secure and safe and you just went up there? It sounds like...
It felt good, too. It felt, maybe this might sound strange, but almost like a vindication, especially after losing at the British Academy, losing at the Visual Effects Society Awards, and on down the line. In Sydney, at these award shows we lost. I mean, just never got anything. Couldn't figure out why, because I felt like the work was good.
It is fabulous.
And, but we just could not get over that barrier. And then we get to what is probably considered the larger award category, and then we do win, so go figure. Yeah. But it was a great feeling. I recommend it to everybody. Do it often. It's a nice feeling.
And so, I feel like Joan Rivers here. What was the after party like? I mean, you're mingling with the greatest of greats. icons, film icons, the movers and shakers of the industry. What was that like for you?
I got, Tom Cruise to talk with my wife so I could go talk with Pamela Anderson.
Wow.
So,
Is
no,
this a
but
dream
there's
come true?
Right, no. I mean, I'm joking.
Pamela Anderson,
I'm
now
joking,
she's up
I'm
there.
joking. But I have told this story before, but it is a funny story. I was walking in, and Donald Trump was in front of me, and security pushed him aside and said, "Academy Award winner Anthony Lamolinara coming through." And I turned to Donald and I went,
Oh,
"Hey,
my
partner."
God.
And just kidding around with him.
Sure.
That he would be pushed aside, because that'll never happen again.
Let's hope there's not a hit out on your life
Right,
now because of it.
right. Or on his hairdo.
Oh,
Right.
somebody needs to hit that thing anyway and put it out of its misery.
Yeah, but they were fun. The after parties were fun, and it's kind of an odd thing to carry around the Oscar, but everybody, like I was talking with Adam Sandler afterward, and he was, because I came through for the press, he was talking to his mother, and then he gave the phone to me, and I started talking to his mother.
Oh,
and
you're a crazy guy.
And he said, just take the award around everywhere, and that's what you do, and you go in anywhere. It's like, it lets you go in any place, and it's like diplomatic immunity too. You can do just about anything and get away with it.
You're now officially among the elite of the elite in the film industry. Do you feel any different?
I mean, it's great to be recognized, but to put it truthfully, come on, what people really care about are the actors, and this is great recognition. I love it, but the actors are really what people watch the show for.
Well, and I don't want to sound argumentative, but a lot of people I know go to these movies and all they can talk about are the special effects.
Well, what do they watch the Oscars for?
Pardon?
What do they watch the Oscars for?
Oh.
To see what Charlize Theron is wearing, what Julia Roberts is wearing. They don't watch it to see me walking down the red carpet. That's for sure.
But I think people today are a lot different. I think, as you know, being part of it, Hollywood films now officially rely heavily on animation, special effects, computer-driven. I think it's become a huge integral part of the process. Everyone I know who saw Spiderman, all they could talk about was the special effects. They didn't talk about Tobey Maguire's acting. They talked about your special effects. They
well,
were
what they give him
blown
$17
away.
million for, and give me the little peanuts.
It'll catch up.
Oh, okay.
It should.
Okay.
If I had the money, it'd be yours.
Okay.
But I mean, everybody nowadays is very savvy, computer savvy, film savvy. They know animation. They may have a small program of their own. They're doing Photoshop. I think people are probably more inherently aware of special effects now than ever. I mean, do you feel that? Everyone talks about it. Oh my God, did you see the part where he went through the train? Matrix and film after film after film.
There are. And, John Dykstra, who was in our group, his last Academy Award was 27 years ago for the first Star Wars.
Well, there you go.
And if you look at it, of course, the visual effects, which were done all on film and using little optical tricks and what we call optical printing, and they're not done in the computer. And you can tell it. But at the time, it was incredible. I mean, you look at it and think, oh, I remember when the titles for Superman, the first Superman, were done, how unbelievable that looked. Things grow, and people are getting more sophisticated about what they see on screen, and we have to keep up with that and keep trumping, not Donald Trumping, but trumping what's been done before.
Well, I think that's what we're talking about, elevating the status of special effects, audio effects, visual effects, computer graphics, animation. You can't separate Star Wars from special effects. You just can't do it. It would not have been the movie it is today.
Right, and I mean,
Toy
there's another
Story.
one coming out.
Toy Story, you were involved with Toy Story.
Yep.
Breakthrough. I mean, unbelievable films
and
coming out of Pixar.
Here I am 10 years later, exactly 10 years later, on Toy Story 3.
Wow. Well, I can hardly wait till it comes out.
Yeah.
I just saw it too. And I think what you're involved in now, and the things I hear from people who go to films, is I don't think Toy Stories and Pixar and Mike and Me and all those great, fantastic movies, Bug's Life. I go into those films and people 30 and up are there. I'm 43. I brought two friends. One was 52, one was 57. And we were enjoying it as much as any child in that arena. we grew up with the great Disney classics, Fantasia, Looney Tunes. I mean, we're a cartoon-fed society. I was anyway. And I love the fact that films like Spiderman, you can't separate the film from the work that you're doing anymore. I think that's elevating.
Right. It would be hard. It would be impossible to do that character without the computer-generated imagery. There's no way to do that.
Yeah, and I think people love it. Let's get back to you a little bit now. Florida State University graduate, is this correct?
It is indeed correct. And, you know, I lost kid, no idea. When I say lost kid, meaning I had no idea what I was going to do. I wanted to be a cinematographer, to tell you the truth, is what I really wanted to do. And I worked a lot as a cameraman, and I still love working with the camera. In fact, I'm fighting for recognition as digital cinematographer, because in Spider-Man, when it's a CG world, that camera work is mine. And I feel like those frames on the screen are just as valuable as the screens in the live action. So I feel like I should get credit as a digital cinematographer.
What is
Pixar gives credit.
What is a digital cinematographer?
Well,
I
meaning,
know you have to position a camera, you have to...
Meaning...
Tell me how it works.
Meaning that I choose the camera move within the context of that CG world. And when it goes on the screen, who knows whether it's a CG camera or a live action camera. So I think it has as much worth, certainly when you've done 800 shots in a movie.
And that's important to you, your love of cinematography. You actually got your master's in fine arts, and
Yeah,
you have
right.
What has cinematography done for you? It sounds like that's where your heart is, and you've also been able to transcend it into digital effects. It's amazing. You're a different kind of cinematographer, maybe one of a kind.
Well, also lighting, you know, a lighting cameraman, meaning I'm sensitive to lighting, sensitive to movement. One thing that helped me a lot with Spider-Man, I was a ground cameraman. I worked for NFL Films, you know, all the slow-mo stuff. And I used the movement that I would see in the camera, being close to action and action coming, you know, a guy coming down the field for a pass really fast and coming by me and following that, and how that played in the camera. I used that a lot in Spider-Man as well, how I used that body going through space in the camera from top to bottom, left to right, going away, coming at me, to make it more exciting.
So at heart, you're a cinematographer. Everything
I
kind of
like
revolves
that a
around
lot,
that with
but
you?
I mean, you know, I certainly want to direct more, and I like to just think of myself as a filmmaker, for whatever that's worth. I see animation and live action all as cinema. The process is a little different, but when it goes on the screen, it's still a movie with a start and an end and pictures in between.
You don't separate them.
I don't. I don't separate live action and animation. What goes on the screen, if you take The Incredibles, now the last 25% of it is a chase scene, more or less. But if you take the first 75% of that movie, it could have been a live action script, and not a bad one. So it dealt with things. It dealt with things that I'm going through in my life right now at the age of 50. You know, wondering, what have I done with my life? What am I going to do with my life?
Right.
How much longer do I have to live? I mean, at 50, how much longer am I going to work? You know, and in this world, in the CG world, everybody's a kid out of school. I'm all the guys that I work with, I'm old enough to be their father. They're all in their early 20s. So it's kind of a strange thing, and I wonder where it's going for me. But
Where would you like
they're
it
going
to
to have
go?
to kick me out screaming. You know?
Where would you like to go with this? Would you like to do be a cinematographer on a full-length feature film? I know you said you're interested in directing. Is that shooting and directing?
No,
editing?
well, it's probably
what
just
would you
more
like to do?
directing, more directing.
You don't want to touch the camera. You'd back off
I mean,
from that?
I like you, but in L.A. on a union shoot, you can't touch the camera. The director can't shoot anything. The director of photography can't operate the camera on a union shoot in L.A.
So
Only the camera operator can touch the camera during the actual shot.
having always worked in a right-to-work state, I know nothing about unions. I do everything, so forgive my ignorance on that. But let me be Barbara Walters for 1 minute. We'll ask the Barbara Walters question.
All right.
What would your fantasy movie be as a director right now? If I could hand you the script that says your name on it, that tells me everything about who you are as a cinematographer, a filmmaker, a lighting director, what would your fantasy film be?
I have a film that I wrote called The Dominant Gene, but Jean, about a woman named Jean. And
I like double entendres.
right, and it's about a woman. It's a pretty heavy-handed story. There's nothing light about it, and about a woman who's essentially a hustler and meets up with this magician who does a magic show with holograms. And so there's a lot of visual effects in it, and can take reactions from people out of the audience and put those into holograms that he then uses within his show on the spot and this kind of thing. And then he has a brother, and she falls in love with the brother, so there's this sort of tryst going on, and in the end she kills both brothers. So it's real.
Oh, my kind of movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Violent woman film, thank you. Let me know when that comes out, we'll talk again.
Okay.
Probably win an Oscar for that one. No,
Yeah,
just teasing.
right.
So let's get back to FSU, Florida State University. There's a misnomer, and I've lived with it the whole time I've
What
been
is it?
here, that
That they play football
Florida
there?
does not sustain filmmakers. Florida doesn't create filmmakers. There's no programs in Florida that really, people always look to LA, Chicago, New York. People don't come to Florida and look for people like you.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. I mean, people don't go to Oklahoma and look for people like me because the business is not there. You don't open up a raincoat shop in Saudi Arabia. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's not much rain there.
That comes here comes from LA. They bring their own people. They don't use
because
homegrown.
there aren't that many people here that can do it. I mean, what are you gonna get the talent base?
You went to FSU. You came out. There's an Oscar sitting here.
Well, I mean,
how did that happen?
The DGA, the Directors Guild of America, just this past year recognized Florida State as one of the best film schools in America.
But we don't hear about that.
Well, I don't know why you didn't hear about it, but actually my nephew has just started there, and I wish he'd make a film and quit running his mouth, but
it's easier to run your mouth. I do it too.
If he's as stubborn as I am and was, then he probably will just keep going on his own theoretical trip. But anyway, it's important for kids to know in school that they need to get to work and do something, and quit standing around and talking about it, and quit reading books about it. To hell, get a camera and go out and make something.
And today it's more accessible than ever.
Right.
You can do Final Cut Pro on your computer at home for $5,000.
Yeah, we had none of that. I did everything on film. There were no computers.
Moviolas, remember those?
Right. I mean, when I went to school, a calculator was as big as an old Smith Corona typewriter.
I learned to edit film on a moviola at USF, which is this huge thing that you reel and put, Scotch tape on it. It was miserable. I got a horrible grade in film.
One basic reason that film studios are in a certain place, the reason film studios are in LA is simple. Sunshine. That's it.
Florida, sunshine.
Very unpredictable with the rain.
Well, the summer season is, yeah.
Meaning, it's all over the place. It might rain one day, it might not. The clouds are all over the place. In LA, if you want to plan a shoot, exterior, chances are you're going to get a sunny day, according to the weatherman. But here, you can't do that. You can't, it's not predictable that way, and that's the reason that it's there. Now, go figure, Peter Jackson has his studio in New Zealand.
Yep.
I was just there a couple of months ago on the set of King Kong, and my God, talk about weather out of control. Wellington, New Zealand, you can't get much worse, but he's got a studio there and it's working. So
yeah, we were supposed to be the next great thing in the film industry, and I think having given birth, as I can say, from Florida to you, now an award winner, is a hopeful premise for students at FSU in Orlando and Mainsail and various schools studying film in Florida. You can do it here, is that right? I mean, you did it. You managed to do it at Florida State University. To me,
well,
that's awesome.
Listen, I went to Florida State University. I had cameras. There was a guy there named Tyler Turkle who was teaching courses, who made films, who took an interest in me, and I ran with it, and I was somebody who, there wasn't much there. I mean, we were the first inkling of any kind of film school there, and I mean, now they have a more full-fledged operation.
Sure.
But then, we just had a bunch of cameras, and I bought film, and I made films, and Tyler worked with me and helped me, and I shot on some of his films. And, you know, he's one of the first people I called when I won the Oscar, because the guy was real nice to me and helped me and showed me his interest and respect, and it was a great thing. And I think that's what you can do for kids to help them along, to believe in them, to believe in their ability to actually do something.
So what I hear you saying, it doesn't matter where you make a film, it doesn't matter if you're in school, at home, in your garage, just start making movies if that's what you want to do.
Right. I mean, look, there are too many, I always say there are too many handguns and microphones in the world, you know, because there are people using handguns that really shouldn't have them, and there are people that have microphones that you wish didn't have them. And there are probably too many video cameras now in the world.
You were telling me about the Sundance Film Festival and the proliferation of filmmakers, or we call them video makers or movie makers. What's happening with that? It sounds like we're saturated. Anybody can make a movie. Is that the feeling out there?
Yeah, and it's hard to find, you know, the good stuff. And I mean, the good thing is, it's like the recording industry now. It's kind of a mess. Anybody can record a CD and get it on the market. It's difficult to get the publicity of a recording studio or label behind you. But, you know, it's easy to put the music out, and it's easy to put a film out with Final Cut Pro and so on, these kinds of things. People like the Danish filmmaker Thomas Vinterberg, you know, made this film called Celebration with a home video camera, and it's a great piece. It's a great piece. You don't find too many like that. Most people, but he comes from a filmmaking background, so he knew how to make a film and knew how to structure it, and there's a lot that has to be known to do that correctly. And most people are just picking up the camera and doing this.
They're bypassing the basics.
Yeah. Yeah, and
fundamentals.
Film at least used to force you to have to learn those, because if you didn't, you weren't going to get anything. You know, you weren't going to get an image even. And now it's easy to get the image. It's just difficult to get a person who's an artist to know what to do with it. But at least it opens that door, and you have more people making films. I don't know where it's all going, you know.
That was my question. What do you perceive as the future of the filmmaking industry?
You know, people say that games are going to be the new entertainment. I don't see it. I don't see anything new. I see people walking around bonking each other on the head or shooting each other, and they say
stealing cars, raping
you know,
women.
And they say, oh, you know, the viewer can create his own scenario. Well, I'm not really interested in. If I want to create my own scenario, I go off and create it. I don't want some game that I create the ending or the scenario on. Who cares? And if those people were qualified to be doing that or had a story to tell, then they should go tell a story. You know, I don't want to see their story in a game. I don't care about it. You know, and where is that going? I have no idea. The deal is they're making a lot of money, but McDonald's makes a lot of money too. They don't make the food good. You know, it's cheap food. And
McFilms,
and games
McMovies, right? The McMovies industry.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know where it's going, and nobody knows where it's going. People still seem to go to the movies.
And people still go to good movies. Aviator,
Yeah.
$12 million dollar baby.
Yeah.
The work you did, Spiderman, I mean, phenomenal success.
You know, and
Toy Story, phenomenal success.
And there are entertaining movies, and there are movies that deal with things that take you emotionally to different places, and different people go to the movies for different reasons, but those things are out there, and people still like to hear a story, a yarn, something, you know, that whereas I used to sit around and listen to my grandmother tell stories, this is the same sort of thing. And I mean, if she were still alive, she'd lay an egg, you know, at seeing this, because me growing up with her in Pensacola on a farm, I mean, I remember her reading things like Modern Screen magazine, and this was a world that was somewhere off in another planet, and there was no chance of ever reaching it, you know, and of course I thought of it that way growing up. But, you know, there's talent there in LA, but these are people with problems and everything else like anybody.
Yeah, it's always been that way. We're going to wind down soon. I know you have to get going, but let me ask you this question. What is your personal philosophy that you apply to everything you do, all the award-winning things that you do in the film industry, not in your daily life, not raising your kids.
I hear you, I hear you.
What do you always bring to the plate? What are your core values? It sounds like, you know, I've heard you say fundamentals, critical importance to filmmaking, elevating the product, not doing the Mick movies or the Mick films. What are your core values? You've managed to plug them into award winner after award winner after award winner and successful films. What do you bring to the plate?
I hope that I bring talent, and I am stubborn. I fight people on getting quality on the screen, because there are people who would put things on the screen without quality to get it done. And it's always a fight to get quality on the screen. So I'm really hard-headed about that, and you have to be stubborn to get that. And you know, I just a stickler for detail. I want every finger to be in the right place, and that may not seem important, you know, at first glance, but in the whole, I think people see the quality ultimately there. Even though it may pass right by, they still see that detail, maybe subconsciously, but they still see it. And that's what I try to do. Just, I have a lot of pride in my work, and I will fight people down to the last minute to get that quality on screen. And I think you have to do that to get it there, because otherwise there are a lot of things working against you, you know, and I'll lie and cheat and steal to get it on the screen. And, you know, and people will
Hey,
say,
at least you're upfront about it.
you know, and I'll, you know, they'll have, the shot is supposed to be done, and they'll say, is that done? And I'll say, sure, it's done. And it's not done because I'm not finished working on it, or having someone else work on it. And they'll commit it to the film, and I'll check it back out of some file in the computer and work on it some more, and they'll cuss at me and I'll cuss at them, and then we get something better on screen. And it's that kind of thing. You have to be
Passionate?
Passionate, insane, willing to, you know, act nuts. And
Well, that's why this is here. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't get this by being a pushover. You didn't get it by not sticking to your fundamentals and your core values.
And I show a lot of respect to the people that work for me, and I'm protective of them. I've threatened, there's one director, he talked badly to my crew, and I told him I'd shoot him if he talked to them that way again.
I'm in so much trouble.
First he said, oh, what
You
are you
don't
going to do,
have a gun
shoot
with you,
me?
do
And
you?
I said, if I need to shoot you, I'll shoot you.
I'm so glad I've been nice to you. Nice Italian boy. I'll ask one more question here, because I know you got to get running. I'm not going to let him go. What a rare opportunity to, you know, talk to someone who won an Oscar, and somebody so humorous, except for the gun thing. You have 2 babies, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Is there going to be home movies in your household that says, this is what Daddy did on Toy Story, this is what Daddy did on Spiderman? It sounds like you already have movies that are family-driven, kid-friendly, creative, wonderful, expressionate films that any parent would be proud to show their children.
Like the movie I want to make where the woman
Well,
kills the 2 brothers.
that's for me. It's not for the kids. They'll never see that one. That's going to be my movie. I'll have to send you my headshot.
Right, you know, and my wife is saying, oh, you have to do the Toy Story 3 because it'll make the kids so happy and all this stuff. And I don't know.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
I'll support them in whatever they want to do. And legacy is that I did the best that I could, and gave it the best shot that I could. And I never feel that I do. I feel like I work harder than most people, but I never feel like I have ever, like I could have done something else, you know.
You're always left with that next step and that next level.
And I think that if you're never satisfied, then you're probably going to do a better job.
Great. And is there anything you'd like to tell the audience watching, maybe aspiring filmmakers out there, or folks who are interested in special effects or computer graphics and animation? What would you like to tell the young people out there, the next guard, the next generation?
just pay attention to your work and develop your sensitivity and sensibility as an artist, and try to do nice work and work that you care about, and pass that information on. Be generous. A lot of people like to win a race by cutting off their opponent's legs, and I'm competitive, but I'll tell my competitor everything I know, so maybe he'll put 2 and 2 together and come up with something I didn't know, and we make the, I want to say art, but at least the business, the craft better.
Always improving it.
Yeah.
Well, I ascribe to the Lily Tomlin theory. She said every time you have an award ceremony, you just created a whole new batch of losers.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it doesn't sound like your goal was to win, although you won, which is an extraordinary opportunity. But it sounds like you're not even done yet. Like you're still going forward with your craft and your business.
I hope so.
I do too. I'd love to see you again.
Yeah.
And thank you for being with us, Anthony.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for the Oscar edition. And we'll see you on our next outreach show.